Meanwhile, another agency had their power cut off yesterday, but for a completely different reason. PNC's Rosel Romanes has more in this report.
That Guam agency that had their power cut off was the Guam Department of Education. Apparently, DOE was unable to pay the Guam Power Authority for their services, which led to the cutting of power at their central offices in Tizon. I spoke to the DOE Superintendent today to find out what happened and if the situation was resolved. It turns out that GPA isn't the only DOE vendor that is owed money. It was lights out at the Department of Education for a short period yesterday because they couldn't pay the Guam Power Authority on time.
So yesterday, right before noon, the power was cut off here at the Tizon central offices. It didn't affect any of our schools, but here at the central offices, when the power went down, our generators kicked in and we were able to continue business through the rest of the day.
DOE Superintendent John Fernandez says he doesn't anticipate any more issues with GPA. Fernandez is glad that GPA was prudent enough to disconnect power to the central offices instead of the schools. Fernandez says DOE will continue to work closely with GPA and the Department of Administration to make sure payments are made in a timely manner.
My finance staff were in touch with both DOA and GPA to ensure that we addressed the outstanding issue of payment for June and July, and we received a check from DOA probably around 2 o'clock, and then shortly thereafter the crews came back from GPA to switch the power on.
Back in June, DOE faced lawmakers in a roundtable meeting where DOE brought up the struggle to pay vendors and asked DOA to release $13 million in reserve that were needed to cover operations in fiscal year 2015. Fernandez gives us an update. He says DOE is still about $6 million behind in payments to various vendors. He tells PNC that 2/3 of the unpaid invoices are older than 60 days, which amounts to about $4 million. Invoices older than 90 days totals to about $2 million. Fernandez sent another letter to Adelup a week ago,
basically seeking the release of the reserves so that would enable us to receive the necessary allotment authority as well as the cash to continue to provide payment to any number of for any number of vendors and services through the rest of the fiscal year. With that shortfall and our inability to catch up, we are juggling between our various vendors, some of which have have outstanding payables that are over 90 days owed. So it's not in a good position to be in, and again, we continue to work with DOA, we continue to work with GPA to try to keep the services flowing. Definitely don't want it to affect our schools.
However, Fernandez is hopeful as we draw closer to the new fiscal year, which starts October 1st.
Our appropriations for next year sets aside about $13 million in one-time funding from a bond refinancing that'll help us tackle that payable issue. So it'll help us catch up with what is owed to vendors. That $13 million will go a long way to resolving the problems that we're seeing right now.
Rosel Romanes, PNC News.
To help the Guam Power Authority reduce power usage, DOE Superintendent John Fernandez confirmed with PNC that he will be sending a directive to all schools and divisions soon to shut off air conditioning units and lights when school is out.